Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're here with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. We're having an absolutely beautiful, perfect winter's day here. It's about 20 degrees. For those of you that are in the old-fashioned sort of, it's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's actually a very pleasant day for winter. It was really chilly this morning. But before we kick the show off, I'd really like to ask everybody to hold hands, say a little prayer, give a moment's reflection for the poor people in Greece that have lost so many of their family members, plus their homes, all their treasures, the things that are important to them with those terrible fires that were there. I can't begin to imagine the terrible sense of loss and bewilderment of where do they go from here? And it's more about the loss of life than it is about the material things, but also equally as important is our treasured memories, the things that make us the human being that we are. And we can't forget our friends in California either, with the fires raging there also. There's been loss of life there too. There's also been, many homes that have been lost. It's really a difficult period when people are facing such tragedy, to understand how they're going to come back from this and why is this important. Look, I don't have the answers. Many astrologers have written that, there's weather events around eclipses. Look, I don't know that that's necessarily right, wrong or indifferent. All as I know is weather events and tragedies happen all year round. They don't just happen around a particular astrological event. And I think we need to remember that we are human. We all live in a world that things could be taken away from us at a moment's notice. So please really connect with the people that are important to you today and every day. Don't leave it until it's too late. Don't leave it until you don't have that opportunity. I live by the motto, live today as if today is the last day of your life and make it the best one that you possibly can. So having said that, it's a very interesting card that I drew this morning as here in Australia because it's daytime, for the card of the week, and it's the Simply Tarot card of the week, and it's the Four of Cups. Now, the Four of Cups is happy home and childhood memories, and I feel that that's a very apt card considering what we've just been talking about with the fires and tragedies around the world. Let's all of us take a moment to be very, very thankful for the happy home that we do have and our childhood memories and the things that are very important to us that make us the person that we are. It's really interesting. Each week we sort of focus on a little bit about what's happening in the universe. And this week it's been a very busy week in the universe. My inbox has been overflowing, if that's possible, with cyber technology these days. But people sort of saying to me, Amanda, I don't understand why I'm feeling so titchy. I know we've had a full moon. I know we've had a lunar eclipse. I know we had the blood moon. I know this, I know that. But why? But why am I feeling like this? Why is so much old stuff coming into my head? Things that I thought I'd dealt with and I'd let go of, but why? Well, the but why part is all eclipses are usually, in my opinion, a time of mammoth change in our lives. Now, whether that's a physical change, whether it's an emotional change, or whether it's a releasing change, it's usually a marker in time for something that we need to process, look at, deal with, let go of, or even just understand. So with the fact that we had such a powerful full moon, and here in Australia it was one of the most powerful lunar eclipses for the next 120 or 30 years. So it was a time everybody was out with their cameras, and it was very close to early morning here when the eclipse happened, and it was a blood moon and the moon was very pretty, but it was actually a smaller full moon than we normally experience. So it's an interesting sort of concept. On one hand, it was an extremely powerful moon, and on the other hand, it was the smallest of the full moons that we're going to have for a very long time. So take your pick. I think it's somewhere in the middle of all that we find our own truth. And I feel also too, at this time of the year when we get to just over that halfway point, I think we are all as human beings usually reevaluating, organising ourselves, having a little bit of a rest and looking at what's ahead of us in the next few months as we make that charge towards the end of the year. And have we dealt with all the things that we put down on our list at the beginning of the year of our New Year's resolutions and our goals and our aspirations for the year? So a lot of us sort of find that it's that time of the year as well. And this year it just happens to be coinciding with all these lunar events and eclipses and full moons and everything else. I think it's just take out of it what you need, deal with it the best way you can, and just remember, take 1 hour at a time. When you're feeling so emotionally overwhelmed, just break it down into much, much smaller pieces. As I spoke about last week on the show, we've got 5 or 6 planets going retrograde if you want to include Chiron in that. That's still the case. So things will still be a little bit titchy for the next couple of weeks. It's a big readjustment time. You know, we've had some major shifts this year with Uranus moving into Taurus. That to me is more where we should be focusing on, because Uranus is like sort of the planet. It's a planet of the unusual and the unexpected. So Uranus comes in and tips everything upside down and says, well, how did you like that? You said to me you didn't like your job. Well, I got rid of it. Now you're complaining that you got the sack. Well, make up your mind. What did you want? So Uranus doesn't have a conscience. Uranus doesn't think about things. He answers your questions. If you say, I hate my job, he gets rid of it. If you say, I hate my car, he gets rid of it. You didn't tell him not to cause it in a way that was unpleasant to you. He just thought he was doing you a favour. So just be very careful at the moment what you're sending out to the universe as far as your wish list is concerned, even in anger or frustration. Be very careful of what you're voicing, because it may just reach Uranus's ears and he may just accommodate your wishes that you thought for that split second. For those of you that follow the show regularly, you'll know that we quite often talk about Mercury retrogrades. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury does his little retrograde or backwards dance 3 times a year for approximately 3 weeks at a time. And I'm always talking about under these times, this is when we can have all the technical hiccups under the sun. Your mobile phone dies, your laptop goes haywire, nobody's got their listening ears on, people are sort of more aggressive and more uncomfortable around people than they usually are. They're short-tempered, they're not listening, they're snapping people's heads off when they're in conversation. It's a time to really, I think, be much, much more patient. And if you do have to sign something really important under this transit, which is, I think, from memory, to about the 16th of August, make sure that you take it away, you read it out aloud, you read it a few times and go over it and make sure everything is where it should be. It's not the time to rush through things. I'm always very careful about sending things by mail or courier under a Mercury retrograde. I triple check all my addresses and things like that everything's correct, ensure it and hope for the best, because sometimes I think our mind just races too fast and we're in sort of a little bit of this foggy type brain that we might sort of put a wrong telephone number or a wrong street address or something like that, and things do get lost then. And it has been partly Mercury, but it's also been partly our own fault too, because we didn't really take the time to look at the actual correct address or the telephone number or whatever we were conveying. But this is not the time, if you're having relationship issues, to bring up that really tricky area in your relationship at the moment, because the other person may not be listening or may not absorb it or understand what you're trying to say. So I'm going to say to you, be very, very careful. If you've got to have really serious conversations or not the time to go and ask for the raise at work, things like that, leave it till after the 16th of the month. So this week, in our little series of things that we usually talk about, I do like to bring in a candle of the week. And this week, because we are in the energy of Leo, of course we're going to have our fire sign candle this week. And as you can see, I've dressed up for the occasion. I've got all my bling on because Leo likes to do things in a very exaggerated sort of way, in a blingy, positive sort of fashion. I've got my red jumper on and all my sparkles. So it's only fitting that we have the fire sign candle to represent Leo. This is one of my favourite candles, probably because I'm a fire sign, and when you open the lid, it's absolutely divine. It's strawberries and champagne. It's a beautiful smell. But the fire sign energy is about really sort of starting new projects. It's about roaring like a lion. It's about sort of taking your power back. It's about strutting your stuff. It's about walking out on centre stage and making yourself the person that everybody's focusing on. Now, when you work with a fire sign candle and you might want to bring in more focus or more energy or being able to sell yourself or promote yourself in some sort of way, make sure that you burn your candle between 5 minutes to about 2 hours a day. I like to burn one side of the wick one day and then the second side the next day. That gives me approximately 100 hours out of a candle instead of 60 hours. But also, more importantly, what it does for you is the fact that these are glass containers and they can get hot. The actual soy wax doesn't get hot, but the glass container itself can get hot. And sometimes with changes in temperature, I've noticed that they've cracked for no apparent reason. It's just, the barometric pressure's changed. Always make sure when you're burning a candle that you put it on a coaster. You never put it directly on furniture or always put it on a coaster or a saucer, so that you know then that there's a little barrier between you and the material that it's sitting on. So what you do is you write your list of the things that you would like to bring into your life. If you're looking to sort of start a new job or start a new business or maybe want to get enough courage up to go in and ask the boss for that raise, then put this down on your list of the things that you hope to achieve while we're in this Leo energy. And look at the fact that, I am really worthy of these things. I deserve it because. And I think it's important, particularly if we're using you want to go for a raise in your job, list the reasons why you deserve to get a raise in salary, so that when the boss says to you, well, what do you think? Why do you think I should give you a raise? Well, then you can say, well, because I'm reliable, I'm this, I'm that and the other, I've been hardworking, I haven't had a raise in 2 years, I believe I give my job everything, I'm very focused, I don't put my hand, I don't write down the extra bits of overtime that I do unless it's a very lengthy period of time. List a few key points so that you sound very confident in your approach at the reasons why you do deserve to get that raise. Now, for those of you that might want a smaller candle, we have our travel pack. Now, the travel pack comes with 3 candles in this lovely gift box. It also gives you the flexibility then to be able to make up a pack of your choice. We have 28 candles in the range, so you don't have to pick 3 fire signs. You can pick 3 of what you like, any particular candle that you like, and they burn for about 15 minutes each. Same rules apply when you're working with a travel candle. That just gives you the flexibility of having something that's smaller that you can take to work or take with you when you're going on holidays. Now, this is a melt warmer. For those of you that may not want to work with a flame, you can use a melt warmer or a wax warmer, as they're called in some countries. This is an electric one. This enables you to leave it going after you've written your list. I always put it on a coaster as well. Put your list in between you and the coaster. And you can use it in exactly the same way as you would a candle. But the difference with a wax warmer is you can leave it going and the fragrance can go all through the house or through the office. You can leave that going all day and then just turn it off at the end of the day. About half a teaspoon of wax out of your candle is appropriate for that. I always say that you can buy these here in Australia for under $20. I did have an actual look this week. They're $15, so they're cheaper than what I thought. They're definitely under $20, and they're a very worthwhile investment. I have a couple going. I usually have one going in my office with protection in it. Every time that I do psychic work, I put another half teaspoon of protection in there before I start my day's work, and that's my little point of focus with my meditation. Then out in the dining room where I do a lot of my office type work, I have another wax warmer going or a candle going with whatever I may be working on for the week. So that's just working with candles. And you can get those at our website, www.amandahallpsychic.com.au. Don't forget to type in the word radio at the checkout and you will get a discount. We do offer free postage here in Australia, but for our overseas family, we can only offer a flat fee. So if you want a couple of items, save your pennies up and order them all in one go, and you'll get the flat fee of postage. So we're going to move along now very quickly with our astrology feature of the week, where I've been featuring entertainers or singers particularly. This week we're up to the female of Virgo, and it was interesting to find that there were so many to choose from, but Pink just jumped out at me. I'm a big fan of Pink. I think she's an amazing role model for young women. She's nearly 40. She's 38, turning 39 this year, an amazing young woman who really did set a point of difference in the world, where, she dared to be different, to step out of the monotone sort of stereotypes of how they perceive female entertainers should be. When I did the research on Pink, she's always been a very different, outspoken young person, even from a very, very young age. She started songwriting in her teenage years as a way to express her feelings and her emotions, particularly after her parents divorced. And it was, from reading some of the things that I read, that, at times there she had a very dark, dim view on the world. But this was a very healthy, positive way of her being able to express and work through those emotions. Some people aren't clever enough to be songwriters, but they can put it down in a journal or a notebook or something like that. So I really do encourage people to work with that. I think she's been a great role model in that way. Look, she's a dancer, she's a singer, she's an entertainer, she's been acting, she does lots of beautiful things, and, she's had some amazing experiences with her music, too many accolades to mention. But one of the things that I think people don't really know much about Pink is that she's very much an animal activist, and she really does stand behind what she believes in, that way that she doesn't like to see cruelty to animals, and she thinks that we should all start to take some responsibility for the planet, and not just human beings, but for the plants, for the animals, for the other things that share the world with us. So for her, to be such an outspoken young person on many of these serious issues, I think it gives us some hope that future generations still will be passionate about the things that us oldies have been passionate about for a long time. So for young women that are looking for a role model to look up to, pink's your girl. So we're going to take our very first caller now, and it's Tammy in Lake Cree Nation at, Scatchetown. I'm not even going to pretend to try and pronounce it. I know you're in Canada, and I apologise, Tammy. How can I help you?
Yeah.
You there, Tammy?
Yeah.
How can I help you tonight, sweetie? You have a question for me?
I don't know. I just wanted a free reading, I guess.
But how I like to work, Tammy, is if you've got a question that I can answer for you, that would be amazing.
I just want to know if I'll ever get on the right path. A sober...
What, in your life?
Yes, and if me and Carly Sandfly are going to be getting anywhere in our life together.
Okay, Tammy. All right, the first thing that I'm picking up is I think there's a number of question marks sitting around you at the moment, Tammy. I'm seeing 3 in particular. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that, that your whole life's in disarray. What it means to me is you're questioning things. Now, I feel when we start to question things, that's a healthy sign that we're ready to embrace change. We're ready to make some points of difference in our life because we realise where we've come from and what we've been doing is now completed, and we're ready to open doors up to new experiences and new horizons. So that's good. I also sort of feel, Tammy, that it's now time that you've got to put yourself first. You've been too busy running around looking after everybody else and making sure that everybody else's needs are met, and yours have always sort of come somewhere way down the list. Well, we've got to reverse that. We've got to put Tammy first. Have you been sort of working towards changing your job, Tammy?
Have I what?
Been working towards making a change of job?
Yes, I have been trying my best.
Okay, because the first thing that's coming up around you...
I have been trying my best, but it's not working.
Okay, but you need to be sort of focusing on that first. We need to get the job situation right. Once we've got the job situation right, whether it's either settle down in the one that you've got or find yourself something that makes you happier, once we've got that resolved, then I think we're going to look at where you're living. I'm not necessarily seeing a move, but what I am seeing is making some changes to the home that you're in. It may be as simple as changing a set of drapes or moving the couch to a different position, but it's sort of like changing the energy will help start changing your life. I think towards the end of this year, the early part of 2019, we'll see you find love. And it will be love that will be very satisfying and very grown up. But I'm going to say to you, Tammy, I think it's somebody that from your past. I don't know that you necessarily had a relationship with them before, but I do feel that you know them or they feel familiar. They're not completely brand new to you. It may not have been anybody that you ever had a love interest in before, but now that, life's changed and you're both, more mature and whatever, you find now that the connection is very different to what it was when you were back in high school. So I feel the next 6 to 12 months, Tammy, will see some massive changes in your life. So I hope that's been of help to you, sweetie.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your call. We're going to move on now to Zelda in Nashville, Tennessee. Are you there, Zelda?
I am. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm very well, sweetie. How can I help you?
I am work in the financial field, and I'm doing very well. However, the last 6 months has really stunk. I have worked for this company for the last 20 years, and everything is going good. And then all of a sudden, banks say they send out payments. They never arrive. And it's not only for me, but it's some close clients as well. And I'm just wondering, do you see, and of course my CEO is waiting for an invitation to go to Europe to finalize a transaction. Do you see a breakthrough with this pretty soon before I go broke?
Yeah, look, I do think you'll get some of your money. I don't know that you're going to get all of your money, Zelda.
Okay.
I think it's time to start looking at what other options are out there, because what I'm sort of seeing here is there's something has changed in the way that the company has structured things. Their philosophy, their energy or whatever has changed in this last 18 months. And it's like things aren't working the way that they should because of the changes that they've made. Now, I don't want to see you get into a position that you feel that you should stay there just out of loyalty because it's been good to you and you've made money and, you know, it's given you a certain sort of lifestyle, and that you feel that you'd be letting the side down if you decided to jump ship now because things aren't quite as good as they could be. Darling, you've got to look after yourself. They're not going to show you the same sort of loyalty as you're going to the bankruptcy court. They're not going to turn around and say to you, well, here's a couple of thousand to prevent you getting there, are they? So, you know, it's time to start looking after you. Look, you'll get probably 75% of what's owed to you, but it's not coming in one big lump. That's the problem. It's coming in sort of like progressive payments, and that's not good enough to me. You know, they owe you this money, they owe other people money, and I think it's now time to start sort of seriously looking at your other options. I feel that there could be a change of company or a really serious consideration of change of company as early as September.
Okay, well, this is very interesting because I am one of the partners in the company. And from what I'm seeing, it's more of the banking system than it is with the, you know, them paying us. Basically, it's returns on investments, and it's our bankers who say that they send out they're sending out the funds, and we have confirmation from bank officers. Like one sent it out 2 weeks ago, but it just hasn't arrived at our attorney and at the client attorney. So I don't know if there's something blocking. Obviously, you know, the first thing I do is I look inward and I think, am I doing something that is blocking this?
No, it's not you. It's something technical there. There's something technical there. Now, when they showed it to me as the company has changed the way that it's sort of like their philosophy of the company is, maybe what they were presenting to me was the bankers, you know, like the people that are financing
I think that's
things.
what it is, yes.
Yeah, so that's what maybe needs to change. So maybe after we do get these funds through, then maybe as I've got to look at as a company as a whole at how we structure this better for the future, because you can't keep having this happening. You're going to lose valuable clients if this continues to happen. So it's nothing that you're doing wrong.
Okay.
But I do think we've got to get on top of this very, very quickly. They can send you all the confirmation slips they like, but until that money hits the bank account, it hasn't been finalised. So we need to sort of quickly get onto this. There's something there that's not sort of right. In this modern technology ways of, you know, computer scamming and all this sort of stuff and people losing things and cyber criminals and that, I wouldn't leave this too long. I mean, I think you really need to act on this very, very quickly. I do think the money can be recovered. I think that's the most important thing. The money can be recovered, and it will be, but it's going to be tricky. But I do think we seriously need to be looking at some changes as early as September of how we either put things in place that this can't ever happen again, or hopefully can't ever happen again, or do we need to look at different, you know, financial arrangements with different banks. Maybe this is not the right fit now.
Okay. All right. Do you see travel for my CEO coming? He's out of California. He's to be going to Europe. He's been delayed for some personal things that he's got going on, but do you see travel for him soon, an invitation for him soon to finalize some things?
I do think his trip is going to be very successful. I know that it's been personal things that have delayed him, but I'm going to say, Zelda, these delays were designed by fate too. You know, these little obstacles were put into his path so that when he does actually get to Europe, the actual trip will turn out better than it would have if he'd gone when originally planned. So it's a good thing.
I think you're right on that. Okay. All right, perfect. One more thing. Do you see a move for me soon? I'm thinking about moving out of state and leaving a very abusive relationship. What do you think on that?
Oh, look, I think you better do that like yesterday. I don't think you better delay that one. As soon as you've got, you know, everything's clear that you can do it, as soon as you've got enough money to get out of there, I'd be out of there. I wouldn't be worrying about trying to make sure everything was perfect. I think you need to do that for yourself.
I will do that. Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Amanda. And I so do appreciate you. You look so lovely in your little red frock and your little bling. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zelda. It's lovely to talk to you, sweetie. Good luck with your move.
Okay.
Well, we've come to the end of the show again, so I hope that you've enjoyed what we've been able to present here in our last half hour. I'll be over on Facebook Live directly after this show doing a mini workshop on the sun sign of Leo. So if you want to join me over there on the Amanda Hall page, you're more than welcome. Next week, we'll have our trip around the universe. We'll have our Simply Tarot card of the week. We'll also have our feature candle of the week. So I hope that you can join us again next week. And until next week, be kind to each other and don't forget to please keep Greece and California in our prayers for all those families that are doing it so tough. It's a very, very difficult time in their lives and they really do need our energy and support. And make sure that you really do spend time with the people that you love and don't forget to tell them you love them and how important they are. Love does make the world go round. It's far more important than money. And if you've got love and your health, you've got everything. Money's just a means to an end. It's not the thing that makes you happy. So bye for now. Until next week. Happy Leo time.